Hey, John here. I get asked this question a lot these days, and I don't blame anyone. I'm asking it. Our niche site's dead. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but here's what I think. I've given a lot of thought. I've read, I don't know how many articles about it. Definitely staying on top of it. It's obviously important to me and many of us who are publishing sites. So there are two sides to the question. The first is the viability in the long term of actually using AI content. What's my view of that? What am I doing? The second aspect to this is, will traffic from search engines dry up? Is it toast in a year or two, especially when Google rolls out its SGE, or it's basically its chatbot, AI chatbot above the fold, where AI responses will answer questions put into Google? Are people going to no longer visit websites? So the best I can do is speculate. I'll give you the best answer I have at this point, based a little bit on some actual aspects that are already in place on the internet. Okay, so the first issue is AI content a good idea to use? Should you use it on your websites, or is it a bad idea and it's going to tank your site? Well, there's three strategies. Okay, quickly, three strategies are: just use it as is, crank out as much as you can, as fast as you can, just make money as long as you can, right? Can't fault that strategy. I'm not doing it, but I can't fault it. All right, I totally get it. And the second strategy is a hybrid. This is what I'm doing. It's a mix of I'm using AI to create certain foundations and verse drafts, lots of human editing, lots of fact checking, and so forth. I use what I call my layering technique. I'm not going to get into that here. That's actually reserved for course members, but that's really an in-depth aspect of how I'm really leveraging AI to create excellent content. The third strategy is 100% human written. And there's still people doing this, and if it's working for them, I can't fault them. All right, literally, if you can, let's go to strategy one, crank out as much as you can. AI content is almost free. You can crank out as much as you want, publish it. You can even sync up your blog to it, and it's just publishing. And what you make 25 grand in a year per site, and then it crashes and burns. Well, it's 25 grand. It costs you almost nothing, takes up almost no time. Can't fault that. It's a great ROI, potentially a good model. I'm not doing it. And the only reason I'm not doing it, because something like that would appeal to a person like me. The reason I'm not doing it is I'm really going in on one site, and I don't want any distractions. I've had a record month, actually a few months. Things are going really well with it, and I want to keep growing it in the direction it's going. So hybrid model, it's getting first draft with AI content producers. I like straight up Koala. The Koala writer is outstanding for me. I also use just the chat openai.com. I use the two together, and that is working out excellent for me. And so that's my model. That's how I'm approaching AI content. So it's a mix, and I edit, I fact check, and I'm producing great content for low cost and doing it fast. Now, I also have certain types of content where AI just doesn't do the job. I'm not going to get into why. It's kind of particular to my niche, and so I still have writers that are producing this content, and there's just no way around it, and that's the way it is. And it's fine because it's integral to my site, and so that's, my site's done very well for me over the years, and so I continue pursuing it in this way. Then there's 100% human written. Not much to say about that. If it's working for you and you're enjoying it and you're getting a good ROI, no fault with that. If at the end of the day, you want to look at your content. Is it really good? And you can get really good content with the help of AI. Obviously, you can do it if you write it all on your own. I'm actually getting some contents even better than I probably would have come up with, because AI comes up with stuff that I wouldn't have thought of on my own. And then, of course, there's the just crank out and publish as is, as much as you want. I'm sure some of it's quite good. Some of it maybe not as much. But hey, that's not really the concern. The concern is just to go for the old keyword play and make as much money for a year or two as humanly possible. All right, so that's my view of AI content. The next more pressing matter is, will traffic from search engines die in a year or two or three? Okay, well, I am going to suggest no. I think it's going to drop. And I think for some niches it's going to drop a lot. I think for others some, and for others somewhere in between. And I think also there's going to be an element as to the type of content you publish. I don't really know exactly what all that is, and nobody does. Nobody has the answer to this question or any of the other questions that are coming up. But I think there's going to be some types of content that are going to thrive, where people will still visit websites. I can give you one simple example, and this is again conjecture, and that would be the distinction between product roundups and actual product reviews. All right. AI, and I think Google's SGE, at least those who have beta access to it, They can produce, if you say best electric mountain bikes, I think this is one of the examples that Google put in its presentation. It'll spit out like 5 electric bikes, and then you can go through and you can click through and go to site and buy it. Right? Does that mean people aren't going to visit websites that do roundups and discuss the top 5 or top 10 electric mountain bikes? I don't know. It's probably going to cut into some of that traffic. Okay, so the roundup may be hurt, but the specific review, which is based on personal experience, and people are going to want to read about a personal experience of a particular model of an electric mountain bike, I don't believe that AI can do that justice. Now, it can spit out a whole bunch of customer reviews from e-commerce sites, and for some people, that's going to be enough. They're going to read like 3 customer reviews, and they're great, and they're reasonably detailed, and be like, I'm done. Click, buy. All right? For other people, especially when you're talking about like an electric mountain bike, when you spend thousands of dollars, they're going to be like, I think I'm going to go and read some in-depth reviews. So that's one example. And hey, people may still not rely at all on the roundups produced and still want to go visit the roundup site. So we don't really know how people are going to behave. There are 2, basically situations in place now that could give us a little bit of guidance as to what's going to happen. Okay. So first off, Google snippets have been around a long time. And I visit a lot fewer sites thanks to snippets because I get a lot of stuff answered, short answers that I don't need a 2,000-word article on. I just need a sentence. I get it and I move on. Okay? Like, for instance, I coach kids baseball, and early in the season, who bats first if they're the home team? All right. I didn't have to visit a website for that search. Okay? So that's an example. But that's already happening now and has been for years. Right? Yet, despite with all the snippets, and there's tons of different snippets, there's the people also ask, there's the big snippet paragraph at the top, and then there's videos, and there's all the stuff. And certainly this has impacted traffic. I can tell you for certain that this has stopped traffic. I published a lot of content that used to get a lot of content, and now Google's actually reproducing a lot of it. And so the traffic to a lot of content was a lot higher across the board. I still rank well for it. It's just the click-throughs aren't going there. But I'm still getting clicks, and I'm still getting a decent amount of clicks. And I'm getting enough clicks that it's actually well worth it for me to carry on. All right. So Google's already doing a lot of this stuff. Now, basically, the AI output above the fold in Google is going to be snippets on steroids. I'm not saying basically we can rely on what the situation is now and assume that that's how it's going to be. I think there's going to be further drops for some queries. And so you need to anticipate that. Okay. So I think if you're going to be prudent and you be conservative, you're going to anticipate whenever this SGE that Google has is going to roll out like en masse to everybody, you're going to need to anticipate a traffic drop, right? How much? I don't know, but I would err on the side of, higher than lower. And that means you have to ask yourself, what do I do, right? And that's what I've done. And so you can do a number of things. One is you could just basically adjust your whole business expectations, be like, all right, it's going to drop a certain percent. I'll deal with it. I'll just carry on as is, and that's fine. And in time, I'll just make up with that search traffic just by improving, search rankings and adding more content. Which brings up another point. With AI content, we could produce a lot more content for a lot less money. Okay, so traffic may drop, but our content constraints are gone. Like, unless you are a purist and you only will produce human-written content. But for many people, the AI or the cost of content that was a barrier for a lot of people to scale is gone. AI content has removed that. Okay, so where you may lose some traffic to search, you can arguably make up for it by 10xing your content output. And 10xing, I'm not saying just turn it on and just publish with no intervention whatsoever. I'm talking like 10xing with editing and fact checking and making it really good, but relying on part of the whole process with AI. And yeah, you can literally 10x, and it costs you no more money except whatever your subscription is for AI, which is like peanuts compared to what it used to cost to hire writers. So there's that aspect of it. And so is it going to be a net win? I don't know. It could be. I can tell you right now, I'm having, what I've done is another option. So I haven't really cranked up my content output big time. I think it's going to come. That's because I'm working on something else, but I'm not going to get in that. But one of the other things that I've been working on is I've been developing another traffic source. And it wasn't easy, and it took a lot of trial and error, but I've done it. And so now that traffic source is actually higher than Google search traffic. And for years and years and years, the predominant source of traffic for my site was Google. Everything was geared toward SEO traffic. And now this new traffic source has completely eclipsed the Google traffic, and it's growing faster. And so that is a viable option. Look for an alternative traffic source, maybe two sources, and try to not be 100% dependent on Google. I suggest this would be a very good option. And just, you have to put in a half decent effort. It's not going to happen immediately. It takes a while. It's like SEO. I didn't have millions of visitors. The first week I decided I wanted to get SEO traffic. It didn't happen. So it took a lot of time. Developing an alternative source also may take some time. The nice thing with other sources of traffic is, like, I'm thinking Facebook or Twitter, if that works for you, or building an email list or any of this. You get instant results, right? You find out right away, just basically on your click-throughs, your click-through rates, you'll know right away whether it's working or not, and you can really hone it in and see what types of content is going to work for you. And I'm not saying Facebook's going to work for every niche, and I'm not saying email is going to work for every niche. Maybe you need to explore YouTube. Maybe you need to explore a monetization model that's different than relying on display ads on your website. Maybe you need to think about monetizing another platform. And I'll just give you a quick example. Perhaps it turns out that you've ignored Instagram all this time because you've been focusing on SEO. And it turns out you have a real knack for growing Instagram. Okay, well, you know what? The one real downside with Instagram is it doesn't really kick off a lot of traffic to niche sites because you can't put links in the posts. You can with Instagram stories, and you can create like a link tree, but it's still limiting. So you need to think about how to monetize your actual Instagram profile or your page. And it's easily done. And if you get enough followers and you get enough engagement on your stuff, it can be very, very lucrative. So be open to alternative monetization. Don't get just too hedged in on the whole website display ad model. All right. So those are really the options going forward. I believe in most niches there are angles to produce content that will still perform and get traffic from search. In other words, people are searching for keywords within a niche that they're not going to be satisfied from the AI output. So we're going to have to go for that. There's obviously the opportunity to considerably increase your content output with the help of AI content. And there's alternative traffic sources. So I'm full steam ahead with my niche site. I'm bullish on it. I'm not naive. I'm not delusional. I know that search traffic is going to drop. And I'm proceeding on that assumption. I don't think it's toast. And so the niche site, which encompasses far more than just your Google search traffic, is not dead, at least not in my view. And I certainly hope I'm right. And lastly, I'll talk about something that's kicked around a lot, and that's called branding. Branding is a really hard thing to do. And in a perfect world, I would get millions of visitors to my website because they go directly there and search for it, but that's not the case. I get a few thousand. That's not enough to sustain a business. Branding would be awesome if I could get to there, but it's not. And at the end of the day, it can be done. I know of some sites that actually do it, and like, hats off to them. It's an amazing achievement. But realistically, you're going to need to be dependent on another platform, whether it's you're actually earning most of your revenue on that other platform like YouTube or Instagram, or you're driving traffic from that other platform. There are other considerations with this question in terms of other monetization models that you might consider, such as info products or e-commerce and all of this. I mean, there's a lot of considerations with this. I'm not going down that road at all. I entertain the info product concept, but certainly at this point not e-commerce. But these are all additional considerations you might think about, because if it's not only a traffic issue, it becomes a monetization issue. And ads are typically don't pay enough to where paid traffic is going to work. But if you can create something on your site that earns enough where paid traffic will be profitable, That's certainly going to be a great solution to the issue of any reduced traffic from search. Thanks for listening.